Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Time for weekly series number 4. This will be the inaugural episode of Thursday coverage metrics. Let's go ahead and call it Thursday pass coverage. So, I've already explained the concept in a previous video, but for those of you who may have missed it or forgot, we're going to take a look at the basic surface level coverage metrics for every Seahawks defensive player who routinely drops back in coverage. So we're actually not going to go into somebody like, say, Rasheem Green, who was in coverage a couple times against the Colts and actually did get targeted a couple times. What I'm going to say about that is please stop putting Rasheem Green in coverage, or really any defensive end that's bad. Please don't do that anymore. But this is actually a great week to start our look at the Seahawks defensive coverage abilities individually, because there is a guy on this team, there is a player on this team who has taken a ton of criticism in my comment section since that Colts game, and the numbers pretty clearly bear out that the anger of these fans at this player is misplaced. And I'll explain what I mean before the end of this video. But let's go ahead and hop right in here. Real quick though, once again, in case you missed it in the morning video, collaboration with Hawk's Nest should be coming in a couple of hours here. I think it's going to start around 3 o'clock. So I don't know if it'll be here or on the Hawk's Nest channel, but our collabs are good and people seem to like what we have to say. So definitely show up, tune in if it's something that you enjoy and it's something that you're interested in seeing. We may make it a weekly thing if people continue to be receptive to what we have to say and like it. So let's go ahead and start with the linebackers. Okay, Bobby Wagner was targeted in coverage 5 times, and one thing I'll say is that this probably isn't a big surprise to anybody, given the fact that Wentz threw to his tight ends and running backs a lot. Linebackers got targeted a lot in this game. Wagner got targeted 5 times for 4 completions, 80%, and only 34 yards. So that's not too bad at all. QB rating of 95. Pretty unremarkable, but definitely workable. He didn't allow any big plays. He didn't allow anything disastrous to happen. 34 yards on 5 targets is fine. But maybe the most interesting spotlight is on a guy by the name of Jordan Brooks. He was the guy that Frank Reich really wanted to go after in that game. He went after him mercilessly. Brooks was targeted, according to PFR, 11 times in coverage and gave up 8 completions. Now that sounds bad, but it's actually not. And the reason why it's not bad is because on those 11 targets, he allowed 54 yards. That is less than 5 yards per target. So one way to think about it is that the Colts used 11 plays to throw to the man Jordan Brooks was covering and netted only 54 yards. That is really good. Imagine if a quarterback played a whole game averaging less than 5 yards a throw. It would be really bad, and their team would probably do very badly and lose. So he held up. They went after him. He held up. He did allow the 1 touchdown in coverage, the first touchdown of the season for the Colts. I want to come back to that touchdown later in this video, though, because I want to talk about something that I think is kind of weird that PFR is doing this year that I don't think they did before. But anyway, because of the touchdown, his QB rating allowed was actually 113.4, which doesn't sound that great, but 54 yards on 11 targets is great. Darrell Taylor was not targeted in coverage. I think he played most of the game with his hand in the ground, so that makes sense. We're making it easy for him early in his career. As the season goes on, he will probably find himself in coverage a little bit more. Cody Barton in 8 snaps was targeted once and allowed a 1 completion for 10 yards, QB rating of 108. Not particularly meaningful, but he was targeted once. And Nick Bellore did not play linebacker in that game, so he, of course, was not targeted because he didn't play on defense. So you can see that the linebackers got targeted a lot, 17 times. So on close to half of Carson Wentz's throws, he targeted a linebacker in coverage. And the thing I really want to emphasize here is that Jordan Brooks was the target. He got targeted more than anyone else. And with one exception, it was not close, and he held his own. Yes, 8 completions, but I will live with 8 completions if it's only 54 yards. Did not allow any big plays. Yes, he allowed the touchdown, but it's arguable how much he was responsible for that, which is actually what I'm going to get to in a little bit here. Okay, cornerbacks. There was one clear guy who was getting picked on a little bit, and the results were not that bad. In fact, I'm perfectly willing to live with results like this, but DJ Reed was targeted 9 times, allowed 6 completions, so 2/3, and there were a total of 66 yards. Now, for a cornerback, that's perfectly workable. 66 yards on 9 targets, I can definitely live with that. That is not something I'm going to complain about very much as this season goes on. He did get picked on more than the other corners for sure. He did give up some yards, gave up some plays, but 66 yards in a game where you get targeted 9 times is something that I'm willing to 100% live with, especially with these corners that we know are not the greatest in the league. QE rating allowed of 88.2, fine. Okay, Trey Flowers. And you guys, for this week, no matter how much you hate him, and I know some of you guys do hate him because I got a bunch of comments and a bunch of chat comments saying we need to cut Trey Flowers, we need to get him out of here. Trey Flowers played every snap against the Colts and got targeted 3 times. He got targeted 3 times across almost 40 Carson Wentz dropbacks. That's I can hang my hat on that and feel pretty good about that. That is a starting cornerback playing every snap. Yes, he allowed 3 completions, but only 28 yards. 28 yards allowed in coverage from a number 2 cornerback is fine. Now, I will grant you the competition he was playing in this game was not the best. He will be playing much better competition later. But if you guys are saying we need to cut Trey Flowers off of this game, which was actually one of the best games he's played in a while, I think, then I think you guys are a little out of pocket. Yes, he did allow the touchdown, which makes his QB rating allowed look really bad at 145, but that was basically garbage time. We were up 3 scores with about 2 minutes left, and he gave up a touchdown on a play where we blitzed 7 and he was 1-on-1. I think just about everybody would give up a touchdown in that situation. Trey Flowers was put in a bad situation. Yeah, he gave up the play, but you know what? He didn't give up a whole lot of plays in this game. And if you're one of the people who was commenting on my videos saying we need to cut Trey Flowers after this game, the numbers are going to tell you that you're missing this. Sidney Jones, Blushuan Austin, and Trey Brown did not play. Marquise Blair playing some nickel, got targeted 3 times. 2 receptions allowed, 29 yards. It's not terrible, but definitely something to watch. He gave up a couple of sizable plays in coverage. QB rating of about 98, and the guy he's competing with, Ugo Amadi, was targeted twice despite playing a couple more snaps than Blair did. 1 completion for 8 yards, QB rating of 60.4. So it seems that the rule that I've stated for a little while now holds true. Amadi has more experience, but Blair has more upside. If you're playing Blair, you're going to get more big plays, but you're also going to give up more plays. So it just kind of depends on what Carroll values going forward. And finally, we have the safeties, and this is going to be quick. Jamal Adams played every snap, targeted once, allowed 1 completion for 8 yards. Pretty good. Beats the heck out of what he was doing last year for sure. Again, he's going to face better offenses and better receivers and better tight ends down the line, but 1 target in almost 40 coverage snaps, pretty good. And by the way, for those of you who are tempted to call him Blitz Boy, he only blitzed twice in that game. So he was in coverage a lot, and he was not targeted but once. Now, Quandre Diggs got targeted 3 times, gave up 2 completions for 34 yards and a touchdown. And here's where PFR is kind of weird to me this year. So if you look at the first touchdown the Colts scored, I think it was Zach Pascal, Jordan Brooks was in coverage on him, and so was Quandre Diggs. They were both in the area. And it's hard to know which guy was responsible for giving up that touchdown. Was it Brooks or was it Diggs? It looks like Diggs got there a little bit late, but it looks like Brooks got a little bit out of position. So what PFR did is say they both gave up the touchdown. That's why you see 3 touchdowns allowed in a game where we only allowed 2 touchdowns. I don't particularly like this. I think it's a little silly to credit a touchdown allowed in coverage to 2 people like that, because there was only 1 touchdown allowed. However, looking at the play, I don't know who was really responsible for giving up that touchdown. To me, I think it was Brooks more than Diggs. I will grant you that they both had a say in it, but if I had to pick one guy to be responsible for allowing that touchdown, it would probably be Jordan Brooks. Now, should Jordan Brooks be in coverage against a wide receiver? Probably not. Maybe that makes you think it's Diggs. I don't know. But for some reason, PFR said they both allowed a touchdown because they both allowed the same touchdown in effect. So you can take this touchdown off of Diggs' record if you want to. As far as I'm concerned, I think that would be totally reasonable. His QB rating with the touchdown allowed is not very good, 144.4. If you take the touchdown off, it will obviously be a good amount better. And you're going to have to make that determination based on how you personally feel about that play and how you feel about multiple guys getting docked for allowing a touchdown. And let me know in the comments down below who you think was responsible for giving up that touchdown. And Ryan Neal, nothing. So that's all we have for the first edition of Thursday coverage metrics. Let me know what you think down below. We'll do this every week until the season is over, and we'll see who's actually giving up the plays. Because eventually there's going to be a game where the defense gets beat a little bit, and I want to make sure we call out the right people. A lot of people this week were calling out Trey Flowers, but the numbers clearly show that he did not play a bad game at all. In fact, he played good. So let's definitely make sure we understand who's actually to blame when things go wrong. Last thing we want to do is blame the wrong person and go about fixing the problem in the wrong way. All right, see you guys later. Hawks Nest collaboration coming up. Go Hawks.